Chad Ikes, Courage Barbell, coming back at you with some more videos or a new video for today. I know I end up going through every few months, I end up getting behind. I'm still trying to figure out the schedule. I'm trying to do a lot of stuff. So I'm trying to get back on track with the videos. And today what I wanted to do is I want to just go through some general stretching. I think a lot of times we get it in our head that we got to train. It's all about training, and we think training is just in the gym. It's just lifting heavy. And there's a lot of other things we need to do, and sometimes, a lot of times, we would be better off going, hey, instead of training today, why don't I run through a stretching session? You know, and a lot of times people don't want to add days off into their weekly training programs when they really could benefit from backing off heavy training. If you're heavy training and you're intense, you know, there's a whole bunch of phases you need to go through as you start lifting weights. But once you're into an intermediate level, then you need to start thinking about your recovery and really how much you're recovering. And a lot of times what you can do is you can go, hey, I need a little more time off, but I still like being in the gym. I still want to train. Okay, well then make stretching your training session. Because as you get bigger and stronger, and if you're overtraining, you're going to get tighter and tighter and tighter. And it's really important that we keep our muscles limber and in good shape and healthy. And a good part of that is stretching, even to the point that a lot of people end up getting really, I call it hypertensive, hypertonal. I think there's some other names for it. And so people are like, I got to use magnesium gel, or I got to do this heavy rolling, or I need somebody scraping on me. A lot of times you can avoid all that stuff if you just let your muscles recover and if you do some good old-fashioned static stretching. So that's what I'm going to go over today, is some of my favorite ones. In all reality, you could go, listen, I got 20 minutes, and you could run through a few of these stretches, be done in 20 minutes, and it's going to have a huge impact on how you feel. It's going to have a huge impact on your strength. It's going to have a huge impact on your recovery. One of the first things I want to cover, though, we're all anatomically similar. We're all physiologically similar, but we're a little different. So stretching is one of those things, kind of like with the technique of a lift. There's kind of some rules to follow, but you got to be creative in making sure you're stretching the right muscle. Like I may have two people that bench both with the correct technique, but it looks different because of how they're built. So I'm finding the cues that are correct. We're going to cut for a second because I got a package coming. All right, back at it. So you might have to change the stretch just a little bit, and I'll cover kind of what we're trying to stretch when I'm doing it, and you can kind of switch around. Just be aware that you may not, don't try to do exactly what I do. Try to feel the stretch in the muscle I'm talking about. And now I'll also mention that when you start stretching, we have these mechanisms in our body that are very protective, and they don't want our muscles to get hurt, such as the muscle spindle fiber, the Golgi tendon apparatus. I think there was one more too. But basically what they do is they're not going to let the muscle go too hard. You know, they need to relax into a certain state before you can actually start the muscle stretching. So I believe it's around 12 seconds. So like when you first start doing a stretch, a lot of times you're like, oh, God, damn, it's so tight, it's so tight. And then after like 10 to 15 seconds, it kind of eases up and you can push it a little further. Consider that part when the stretch actually starts. Once it relaxes, now it just let go of your muscle because your muscle was still tense because it didn't want any damage to happen to it. So once that relaxes, the stretch starts. So you always want to hold your stretch for at least 30 seconds. A lot of times I like to go for a minute depending on the stretch and how much time I have. All right, so let's hop into it. The first stretch I'm going to do, we're going to lower this hook right here. Start out with an easy chest stretch. So we're going to go 90 degree elbow here, 90 degree at the shoulders. And you just want to stretch and you want to come up here and get really straight. And then you're going to move forward. And I'm trying to just feel this stretch in this pec. And then as I feel it stretch, I may want to squat down a little bit to change the direction of the pull because we're stretching this whole chest. So if I squat down, I may feel it more here. If I come up higher, I might feel it more up near the top. And it just kind of depends on where you're at and how you stretch. So if you get up here, don't be like, oh, I got to be exactly at 90-90 and I got to do this here. Like get in there and lean into it and feel that muscle and feel where you feel it stretch the most or where it's the tightest. Like even right here, you'll see me shift my hips forward. So I'm getting more of a pull up, and now I'm going to feel it down here a little more. And the whole time I got my hand, I like to keep my hand here, and I'm just trying to give myself some proprioception responsive feedback to my muscle. And I'm going to come in here and this side. I'm going to come up here and I'm going to start at 90-90, and then I'm going to push forward. And you'll see me kind of go down a little bit. And like right there, it's really tight. And now it just relaxed a little bit, so now I can push it a little further, and the stretch is really just kind of starting. I may want to come up here, and you'll even see me here how I'm really straight, and then I'll shift my hips out. Oh yeah, there we go. There we go. So don't be afraid to move around, and just know that I'm trying to stretch my pec. So I need to move around and feel it. Do whatever I got to kind of do with my body to feel that stretch. There is no perfect stance to have. Now from that stretch, I'm going to grab a band. I like the Elite FTS Average band. A lot of my clients, I'll start them with a mini band, which is about half of this. And this one can also be done with a PVC, a broomstick, a towel. You can do it with just about anything. I like the way the band actually starts pulling it in, and I can relax into the band and it will increase the stretch the more I relax. But I also have people that are really tight, and I'll start them with a stick, and we'll actually measure on the stick where they can go to, and that way I have a record of are they gaining more flexibility over time. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to start here, and I'm going to retract my shoulder blades, and I'm going to depress my shoulders. Now I'm going to go up over my head, and I'm going to get to the point where about right here is where it starts stretching for me. So I'm going to hold it there for a little bit. Wait till it kind of relaxes, and then I'm going to stretch a little more. And now I'm going to start pushing it down a little further. I'm kind of tight today, so you see me, I'm shaking a little bit, and I need to just relax into it. And what I'm not trying to do is I'm not trying to fully extend, I'm not trying to arch my back way back, but I'm trying to stay in a fairly neutral spine. And what I'm doing now is I'm just trying to relax my pecs and let them go back, but I'm also trying to retract my hand, like I'm trying to reach, let's say I'm trying to reach back as far as I can and just let it stretch and try and get as much space between my shoulder blades and this band as possible. And I'm going to hold it in each position and slowly go down and let it stretch out and slowly go down. If I wasn't on video, I'd be doing this a little bit slower, probably holding each position a little further. And each position I go to, I feel a little different areas in my pec and in my anterior delt. And I'll slowly work my way back up, holding it in different positions. This is actually one of my favorite chest stretches. And then while I'm doing this, I may go, man, I was really tight right here. So I'm going to go back to this position here. Go back to this position and hold it for a little bit longer. And you can go through that whole stretch a couple of times. And now I'm going to go back to working on the rack. You can do a door jamb if you have a door jamb at home. And this time I'm going to grab up higher, and I want to keep my arms straight. And then I'm going to turn, and I'm going to turn away from it, and you're going to feel a good stretch all the way through the bicep, the anterior delt, and the chest. And what I like to do is I like to lean away from it. So at the same time, I'm actually distracting my humerus from the shoulder capsule, the scapula. And you'll see people do this with bands and stuff. I get a better stretch just grabbing a pole. And I'm actually pulling myself away from it. And this is a crazy stretch in my bicep. So if I do the other way, we're going to come just like this. And I'm actually pulling away. And this one too, I may go, not feeling it really good right here. So what I'll do is I'll squat down a little bit. Oh yeah, there we go. And I'm really trying to feel that stretch of the bicep tendon, anterior shoulder, and the pec. Then I'm going to move to grabbing both hands up on the pole, preferably higher than the head. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to drop my head in between my arms. And I'm going to try to bend down as far as I can. And this one you should feel through your lats. Hopefully you can still hear my mic on this one. Okay, the next one, this is actually one of my favorite ones. And it takes a little while to be able to relax enough to feel it. Because what we're trying to stretch here is going to be the rhomboids, the mid and lower traps. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take one hand here. I'm going to put my other hand around it just to help hold it in position, because I want to really relax this arm as much as possible. Now I'm going to push away from the rack, and then I'm going to turn into this arm. And as you can see, I'm lifting one leg up, and I'm actually driving with my other leg, trying to drive myself away from that rack, and then twisting into it. And you'll feel it when you get it right. You'll feel it in your rhomboids and your mid and low traps. And again, you may need to shift your hips out or shift them in and get that leg where you can really drive against it while you're letting that shoulder and that arm relax and then twisting in. So I'm twisting my shoulder into this one. And when I'm going to go the other direction, I'm going to be here. And I'm going to do the same thing. So I'm getting it relaxed and driving away from it. Then I'm going to turn in. And I'm not feeling it really good, so I'm going to drop this shoulder down. And that's it right there. And I'm actually getting some rear delt with this one today too, which is really hard to stretch. Next, we're going to do this stretch with a pole. You can use any pole. I have all these different PVC pieces I keep in the garage. You can do this with a band. You can do this with a towel. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start by grabbing my hand thumb down. Going to go behind my back. Then I'm going to go thumb up and reach behind me. So it's going to look like this. I turn my head around. And the first one I'm going to do is I'm going to pull down. So I'm going to try to push my elbow to get it as far behind the middle of my head as possible, and then I'm going to pull down. And what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to stretch that tricep. And you'll even see me push my head back to try and get this elbow back more. And I'm trying to really pull down. You might have to move your hand up and pull down. I'm trying to get a stretch in that tricep, which takes a little bit of force. And after I hold that for about 30 seconds, now what I'm going to do is I want to pull this one up. So I'm going to go to my other side and pull it up as far as I can. Then I'll just take it and rest it on my head. And then what I'm trying to do is I'm really trying to stand up really straight and get this shoulder back. And I'm trying to stretch out that anterior capsule of my shoulder. This was a big stretch when I was much thicker and had a way bigger bench. I had to do this stretch a lot to keep my shoulders healthy. So then we're going to go up. I kind of did it backwards on this side. I'm doing the up stretch first. And it's stretching this shoulder quite a bit more. This was the one I tweaked at the Mr. Olympia bench competition last year, the WPO one. And it's still not fully healed yet. With my sleep, my healing is really poor. But this feels good. I'm going to hold that stretch for a little bit. Then I'm going to reverse it, and now I'm pulling down and stretching that tricep out. Next, I'm going to hook a band to the rack. These are a little bit repetitive because basically they're the same ones I just did. I like to stick my hand through the loop and then go like this. This way I don't have to worry about squeezing it. If I just with a little bit of force, it's going to stay. So we're going to do the same one that we did, grabbing hold of the pole. So I'm going to rest this hand here to keep this shoulder depressed. And I'm going to stand as far away from it as I can, and then I'm going to turn, and I'm trying to stretch that rhomboid mid and lower traps. And you'll see me get some lean against the band. And then I'm going to do that on the other side. Same thing. So I'm hoping this is in the camera's view. Go like this, pull against it really tight, and then I'm going to twist against it. So if that was out of the view, it's the same thing I was doing leaning on the pole, only now I'm using the band to let it stretch. And then another one I like to do is I like to grab behind, and I'm going to grip it the same way. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to move out as far as I can and really let it stretch that anterior capsule of the shoulder. And when you're doing stretches with the band, just try to relax and let the band actually do the work. So then this way, I'm going to come through here. Just letting that anterior capsule relax, letting the band pull the tension and stretch that muscle out, stretch that capsule out. So really think about good posture when you're stretching. You always want good posture. Really simple stretch that a lot of people tend to forget about is just hanging. So I can come in here, get a good grip, and I'll slowly lower myself down. Just relax. We're not trying to keep any tension. And I'll just kind of support myself and let myself go at first. And then just get to a full feet up. I'm just working on my grip, but I'm letting everything else stretch out. And that's really good for the shoulders, really good for the lats. I like to grab in the center and then push myself out to the side, and you'll get a really good lat stretch and a QL stretch as well. In this, a lot of people have tight lats because they almost never, ever stretch them. So you'll feel this one right through here really good. And then we'll go to the other side. Just feel that lat stretching and that shoulder opening up a little bit. Oh, yes. I'm going to do this one a little more now. My lats were tight. I'll admit, stretching sucks. It's one of those things that's kind of hard to keep motivated on. But like every time I stretch afterwards, I'm like, oh, I feel so much better, man. My muscles are relaxed. They feel better. They feel healthy. The next day, I'll wake up feeling better. So if you stay consistent on it, it's going to have a huge impact. So I'm going to move the band down to the bottom of the rack. This is not a stretch I personally do very much, but I'm not a trap dominant person when there's a shit ton of trap dominant people. So set the band low and grab. I'm going to wrap it around and grab low. And just get right here, get a good neutral low back. Get perpendicular to the rack. And just relax. And try to stand straight up and just relax. I actually feel a little bit of that in my forearm. I feel my bicep. I feel my trap. And if you want, you can keep your chin tucked straight. Turn your head into your other shoulder. And just feel all that stretch out. You're coming back here perpendicular to the rack. Just let everything relax. Take the head, turn the head this way. And just feel that trap and that bicep. And that shoulder, you're just distracting that shoulder too. Here's another good one I find a lot of people are super tight at. I am going to use a pole today. So find something, midsection height, maybe even a little higher if you want. And what we're going to do is we're going to grab the pole like this. And also keep in mind, I'll use a medicine ball sometimes and have you grab the medicine ball like this as well. But I feel like I get a better stretch this way. And I'm going to put my elbows flat on this piece here. And then I'm going to try to tuck my head in between
and drop it down as far as I can. You should feel this through your lats. Then as I go, I can bring closer here.
And what's going to happen is most people are going to have a tendency to want to come in here. So you want to stay here. That's why we're using the pole or the medicine ball to keep those hands here as you come in down in between there. Like if I don't have a pole and I do this right here, my first reaction, my hands want to come in. So we want to keep that stretch of keeping that hand out here. And another similar stretch you can do is come up here in 90-90 and then try to come in right here. Like a lot of people would be like, that's all they can get. So you want to be able to come in here like this, ideally with your palms facing me, or facing yourself, I should say. So you want to be able to do that, and that can actually be a good stretch for you too. Another really good stretch, for a lot of people, just being in 90-90, like get in 90-90 and lay on the floor and just let those hands relax into here. So many lifters I know cannot lay on the floor in 90-90 and let their hands touch the ground. Like it's amazing how tight our anterior capsule and the anterior part of our body actually gets. So a lot of times I'll have some of my guys end in that position, just lay in 90-90, and then we'll put a pivot under their back or a towel, which if you watched my video, how to PR bench today, something like that, it's one of the older videos, I kind of go over that stuff because it helps open your chest up, and then you end up, it allows you to get a little better arch, it opens your chest up, like a tight person can PR that day from that. But one of the ones I like to do is, you've probably seen people do it on a wall, trying to get back to where they hit the wall and just going up and down. Well, I like to add a little bit extra to that. So I'll stand here with a piece of PVC, and this is just a quarter inch thick, so it'll actually bend. But what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to keep my hands back and trying to keep that piece of PVC straight. Or if I can even go behind where I don't even touch the pole, that's even better. And I'm just working like a lot of people, guys will be like this. They're so tight they can't do it, but then they're getting a little resistance with the pole trying to straighten them up as they're going up and down. This can be done just standing on a wall, but you want to keep your butt, you don't want your butt out here off of it. You want your butt onto it. And you want to try to keep those hands and elbows on the wall. And even right here, I'm trying not to go like this. I want to keep my elbows and my hands back. And I like to do this with the rings too. I have rings connected to the top of my rack. So I'll have people get out to where the rings are, and I'll have them lean out and get resistance on the rings. So they're leaning forward with resistance and just trying to go up over their head and back down. Over their head and back down. And you'll be surprised how much of an effect this is going to let you get in your bench. First of all, it's going to allow you to open this up so you can fully retract your scapula, which most guys can't fully retract their scapula because they're too tight in the chest. So once they open that up, then they're able to retract better and get under that bar. Or, get on the bench. And even in the squat, a lot of guys can't. They're like this the whole time on the squat bar instead of going and being able to come back here and really lock their back into a strong position. And not to mention, your shoulders are not meant to be rolled forward like this. So if you're like this all day, you're just doing damage to your shoulders. You need to be able to stand up straight and comfortable in this position to keep your shoulders healthy. Otherwise, that humerus is rolled forward in that cavity, that capsule. Basically it. Those are the vast majority of the upper body stretching movements I use. I know there's a lot more different stretches. There's a lot of different ways to do them. There's a lot more what I consider more mobility work. But I've always been a fan of static stretching. It's always worked well for me. And I mean, I'm still a fairly big guy. I'm not big like I used to be, but I'm still fairly big. But I'm flexible, and that's because I do all this static stretching. So remember, try to hold them for 30 seconds. Try to really relax into it and let the muscles relax. Like you shouldn't be forcing it. You should be learning to relax the muscle and let the muscle stretch out. I mean, really, there's not that much to stretching. Remember, the form is not perfect. What we're looking for is the stretching of the muscle. So if you need to change your technique a little bit from what I'm doing, then change it. I want you to feel the muscle stretch. And I mean, if you go, hey, I got 20 minutes, I'm going to go in and go through as many of these stretches as I can in 20 minutes. You don't have to do every single one every single time. And start small if you want. Start with the chest stretch. And try to get 5 minutes of that in, and then work up to where you can find time to come in for 20 minutes, run through your stretches, and be done. This is also a great thing to do. I believe stretching can speed your recovery up. So it's a great thing to do to come in if you did a heavy chest session one day or a bench session. Come in the next day and squeeze in 15 to 20 minutes of stretching. And it's going to make you feel way better, and it's going to help with that second day on that DOMS, delayed onset muscle soreness. So that's it, man. Please like the channel. Please subscribe to the channel. Throw me some comments. I'm horrible about answering. I went through today. I always answer. I'm horrible about my timing to answer. Please check out Chad Ikes on Instagram. I post a lot of varying different stuff, all of which I hope is pretty cool, or I think is pretty cool. Check out CourageBarbell.com. Try to buy some apparel, some stickers. Every little bit helps me afford more time to make more of these videos and to keep doing this stuff to get good information out to you guys. And that's about it. So until next time, I'm out of here.